I will go ahead and update on Twitter. Probably should do it on Instagram. Let me do that. Okay, wait. I love that YouTube tells you when your own channel is live. It's like, thanks. Yeah, I know.
I am always really tempted to, like, anytime I'm on live, I want to, like, go on YouTube on my phone and, like, watch it while I'm in live, just for, like, a real, I don't know, like, meta experience or something. And I'm like, what would this achieve? Nothing other than messing up the audio. But, like,
it's like do it like yourself. It's like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, what am I trying to do? Apparently I can't do two things at once today. Why am I? Okay, there we go. Copy link. Okay. Righty. That should be good. Okay, so do we want to like talk about what we're reading? I know this is like a weird time to do sprints, but if anyone is joining us, let us know. Hello, Bronwyn. Thanks for being here. I was thinking too that depending on time zone, this might actually be a good time for people. That was one reason. Let us know if you're going to be like what you're going to be reading, if you're in the comments, or if you're going to be working on something or just hanging out. Yeah. I also have already linked Huck's channel in the description, so be sure to check her out. I also linked Beautifully Bookish Bethany because she is the one who created the NaNoReMo readathon, which this is like, these sprints are officially part of that, but obviously you don't have to be reading for that. Wow, 6:30 a.m. in Sydney. Thank you for joining us so early. Let us know what you're going to be reading or working on. Huck, do you want to do like a quick little intro on your channel? Anything you have coming up or that you just posted? Whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Huck. My channel is Badger Reads. I read a lot of fantasy, and I have not posted anything in the last week, so I don't have anything exciting to tell you about. But I, okay, have some things that I'm working on coming up, which actually maybe I'll work on editing a video while we're here. I don't know.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah. Are we doing like what we're reading and what we're doing?
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know exactly what I'm going to be doing, but I have lots of options and we'll see what happens. So for reading, I wanted to start The Lions of Al-Rassan. I took the cover off by Guy Gavriel Kay. Yeah, so I've been meaning, I've accepted that I'm not going to finish this by the end of the month, but I want to start it.
You're coming to terms with this right now.
Right, that I have like 2 days left.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this might read this. If I don't feel like I can focus on physically reading something, I'm also listening to the audiobook of Ravenflight by Julie Marillier. I'm rereading it. This is the second book in her Shadowfell series, and I would crochet while I am listening to that. I am working on a, I know this is not one of our crafting sprints,
No,
but I'm
it
working
can be.
on a stuffed animal for one of my friends. So for my friend's baby, I found this really cute pattern for a triceratops. I've completed the head so far. So this is the head.
Oh my gosh.
I think it is very
Cutie.
cute. It's kind of like a chenille feel
Yeah.
thing, which I thought was going to be like horrible to work with, and it's actually not that bad. um,
Oh.
so, and it's actually very nice. It's very like dense in the crocheting, so there isn't any like fluff poking out from holes in the crochet. Anyway,
Yeah.
so might be working on this, but this is something that I would need to like focus and read the pattern for.
Yeah.
So not necessarily like a talking while I'm working kind of project.
Which actually makes
Yeah,
it good for these sprints because these are going to
exactly.
be
That's
more
yeah.
traditional sprints.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, or maybe I'll edit a video. I have lots of options. I've just like
Yeah.
surrounded myself with options to see what I feel like doing.
Sounds good. You will go wherever the productivity takes you.
Exactly.
Nice. It's funny, I hadn't like internalized that we had 2 days left until you said it. So I'm like, I was feeling a lot better about my reading like before this. So for NaNoReMo, for anybody who doesn't know, it's obviously like themed around NaNoWriMo, but it's a reading challenge instead. And you can set whatever goal you want for yourself. I picked 5,000 pages in the month, which was definitely doable for me. And I think what happened is I got overconfident in the middle of the month and I like stopped worrying about it. And then I did the math and I'm like, oh, I should worry a little bit. So I think I have, if my math is correct, I have exactly 700 pages that I need to read over the next few days, which actually should be fine because I basically just need to finish 2 books. The one I am focusing on right now is Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. This is the beautiful UK cover, which I like so much better than the US one. This is obviously a retelling of the story of Ariadne slash Theseus and the Minotaur. I am 150 pages into it, and I'm really liking it so far, which I'm glad because I bought another Jennifer Saint book before I read this one because I was pretty confident. So far, that is turning out to be justified. But yeah, I'm gonna read this. I might also try and do some video stuff at some point. Like I probably should work on some captions for things. I don't know. Maybe maybe I'll do that. Who knows? And yeah, so I actually ideally I would like to finish Ariadne today. And then I'll be in really good shape for my page goal. So that'll be at some point today, not during the sprints, but I'm gonna get a good chunk done. And yeah, Bronwyn said, reading All Hidden Gifts. Okay. Hope the book is good. What do we want to do for our first sprint length? Does anyone have opinions about that?
I don't know.
I mean, I am thinking we could maybe start off strong and go till 40, no, go till 15, which would be almost 45 minutes or about 40 minutes. How does that sound?
That works.
Okay. Let's see. Sprint and 15. All right. We will see you then. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. I see Bronwyn had to leave. That's okay. Hello, Mr. Rurasuri. Let us know what you're working on or if you're reading. How did our first sprint go for everybody?
Well, it was not super productive for me.
But you had so many options.
That might be the problem. No, I think the problem is my own inability to focus. I started with trying to read lines of Al-Rasan, and then I kept getting distracted Googling things because I was, first of all, I was like, wait, what is this book about? So I had to look that up. And then one of the, through the character list, one of the statements the character makes is about like this, the day when everything went wrong. It started with her losing, wait, what did she say? Losing her urine flask, and ended with something much more dramatic that was like everything was destroyed. Oh yeah, and ended with losing a part of her heart forever, or something like that. And I was like, what is a urine flask? So then I had to go look that up. Anyway, I got distracted. So I read like 4 pages, and then I decided to switch to uploading some of the clips and stuff so I can edit videos and working on my crochet.
Sounds good.
How was it for you?
It was fairly productive, actually. I read about 35 pages. I'm still really liking this. I didn't realize there would be a second point of view. And at first I was like, wait, no, but now I really like them. Like pretty much within that first chapter, I was like, oh, okay, this one's going to be really interesting too, which is always nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there are some things that because like I know the story of Ariadne, and there were some things that are not often adapted into retellings that I was hoping this author would use, and it looks like she is using them, so I think that's really cool. And I also, one of the reasons I really want to finish that one is because I'm still unreasonably hopeful that I could maybe finish all of the Historathon prompts, because it's like a historical fiction readathon, and the prompts this time are different. They're like a sequence where you have to, like, the book that you read is connected in some way to the previous book you finished, which is very cool. But the problem with that is that if there's one book that you stall on, you're kind of out of luck. And even though I was really liking Ariadne, it wasn't one I was reading super quickly, which is one of the reasons I'm like focusing on it today. And it actually does read very quickly once I actually like pick it up. So I don't know what's going on. But yeah, that was good. And then I did start doing just a little bit of caption editing. So I'll probably try and do some more of that for our next sprint. It's one of those things that never takes as long as I think it's going to, but I never remember that for next time. Yeah. So how is your crochet going?
It's going all right. I did this. Nice. So it really looks like something.
Something's really happening here.
Oh yeah, it is a disc.
I remember in one of our last crafting sprints, you mentioned like you've gotten sucked into like the Etsy pattern, yes, rabbit hole. I may be joining you there. Like there's a couple that I haven't bought them yet, but I'm like, ooh, I really like these. And the nice thing, this is dangerous, it's like instant gratification if they're digital.
Exactly.
Patterns. You could start immediately.
Right. It costs like $3 and you get a PDF download immediately. And I'm like, this is great.
I know. One of the things I'm thinking of making is I have these like slipper socks that they look like ballet slippers almost. And I got them like super cheap from a random store at some point. I have no idea where. They are not very fancy. I think they were probably like $7 at the most. but I really like them. And I'm like, okay, at some point these are gonna wear out because like slippers and socks just wear out. So it'd be nice if I could figure out how to make some. The problem is that I think those are things that are almost always crocheted instead of knitted, at least what I've found so far. But I've been like dipping my toe into Etsy patterns and seeing if I can find something. I also, it could be something that I could just like adapt a pattern for myself, like just like make it up. Because like I've done socks before. And so like, anyway, that's my my
Yeah, if you were
process.
making like slipper socks, would you just add like another layer on the bottom to make it thicker?
Well, so I'm not describing them very well. The reason they are like that I'm calling them like slipper socks is they basically look, they're kind of like almost like Mary Jane's looking, because it's like there's the slipper part and then there's a cute little strap. So
I've seen those.
yeah.
Okay.
And apparently that's something that most people crochet instead of knit. So I am needing to adapt.
Yeah.
Reading Queen of Coin and Whispers by Helen Corcoran, Sapphic UK fantasy. It's giving Kristen Kishore writing vibes. Really enjoying it. New queen and spy master romance. She's queen after her corrupt uncle dies. That sounds really good. I think I've heard of that title and I never knew what the book was about. So that sounds really interesting. Sounds like you're liking it so far.
I'm
Yeah.
looking this up now because I'm like,
I know.
That sounds familiar. Oh, I recognize that cover. Okay. Yeah.
I remember, yeah, I think people were talking about it when it came out. Let me look. Yes, I do recognize this cover.
Okay.
I can't believe it came out like 2 years ago.
Really? I was about to ask, like, oh, did it come out this year?
No, it says 2020.
Oh God.
I am not resigned to the passage of time.
Same.
Oh my gosh! Speaking of new releases, yesterday, Hannah and I had just finished our last Frances Harding discussion. So we were talking a little bit after that, and I mentioned that T. Kingfisher has another fantasy book coming out next year that sounds really good. I think it's like, is it Thornhedge? It sounds like a really interesting take on like Sleeping Beauty a little bit. Also, the main character is named Toadling, which I think is so funny. So I'm very excited. So I like sent her the link because I was like, oh, if you haven't seen it, like there's no cover or anything, but like here's the announcement. And I like go to T. Kingfisher's author page, and I always just sort by original publication year when I'm like, you know, stalking an author to see if they have new books coming out. And there's another book in the list, and I was like, wait, did she announce
she's like another horror, right?
Right. But this was a different book. I was like, does she have another one coming out next year? And I look and I'm like, published 2022. And then I like look at it and it came out like literally 3 days ago. And I'm like, is
what
this like
book
a novella?
Is this?
And it's like, no, it's a full book. Let me find it.
Hold on.
Felt like an early Christmas present for me. Like I was so excited.
Was it like a self-published book?
I think so, yeah. So I like ordered it immediately.
Oh my God.
Find the link. I was like, did she just, is this like a surprise album drop? What happened?
He needs to promote these things if that's the case. Jeez.
Like, no warning. Just here's a fully completed book.
Oh, the Illuminations? I have not seen this at all. And yeah, this looks like one of her indie published.
Yeah, and it sounds so good. There's like magical illumination paintings, and also, at least judging by the names, it sounds like it might be vaguely Italian inspired, which I love a good Italian fantasy. Yeah. So I'm gonna put the link in the comments if anybody is curious about it. But yeah, that was very exciting for me. I was like, when did this happen? How did I not know about this?
Speaking of T. Kingfisher, it was interesting to me the other day. I follow like Juliet Marillier online. This is gonna come back around to T. Kingfisher in a second. And she had posted something where she had like written an article or like a post or something that was about cozy fantasy, because she had seen somebody refer to her books as cozy fantasy, which was really she was really surprised by. She was like, I don't think my books are cozy, like bad stuff happens to these characters.
So much bad, yeah.
And she was like, what is this? And so apparently she like went down a rabbit hole of looking into how people define cozy fantasy, and then was kind of like, okay, maybe my stuff could fit into that. But it's interesting. She like wrote this whole article about it. But then she was talking about how another author that is sometimes categorized as cozy fantasy that she likes is T. Kingfisher. She really likes T. Kingfisher a lot, which I was like, hey. Anyways, so that was the connection in my mind. But I thought it was funny that like she had never come across the term cozy fantasy before and was like, I don't think my books are cozy. Like bad things happen.
Yeah. I think also like there is a certain like vibe that I feel like a lot of people would call cozy fantasy, but a lot of it is also just so specific to the reader. Like there are books that I consider cozy where it's like, if I had to explain this, it would sound weird, you know, but it's like, I don't know. Or sometimes it could be just ones that you like have reread a lot, you know, like that could make something feel cozy, even if it's not. And when it's such a familiar story and you know how things turn out, that can make it feel cozy, even if bad stuff happens. But that's really funny. She's like, I don't think so. And then maybe.
But I think, yeah, like part of it was kind of coming around to, I think that, so I was also reading some of the comments that people were writing, like replying to this post that she had made, that were people talking about, like a lot of the people who had commented on it, because it was like a blog post for some other like blog site or something. And I think that a lot of the people who were replying, were like people who were like a little older and who their interpretation of what cozy fantasy meant was more negative, of that like if it's cozy fantasy that means it's sort of like shallow in some way. And I was like, oh, I was thinking like this is very different from like how I think like not younger readers as in like middle grade, but people that are maybe more in like 20s and teens, like, you know, something like that, interpret what cozy fantasy is. Because I don't think that people are thinking when someone says cozy fantasy, like on BookTube or something, I don't think that they mean that they're saying it's shallow or that it has no like deeper themes or meaning to it. It's more one, a feeling, and also there can be cozy fantasy that has its own like kind of philosophical bent to it, because it's an orientation towards like life that is a more like positive thing, which doesn't necessarily make it bad. It just was like interesting because I think the other people were kind of interpreting the term to mean something negative, or to mean that her work had less like thematic relevance or something to it. And I was like, that's not how people are actually using it. But I think that there's been like a change in like how much people value that feeling of coziness.
Yeah. And a recognition that that doesn't mean it doesn't do other things too.
Right.
Like I consider the Half a Soul series by Olivia Atwater, which is obviously one of my favorites. I would consider that pretty cozy feeling, but it's really thematically heavy. Like it deals a lot with how do you continue to find happiness in a world where so many bad things are happening, which I feel like is very relevant. And yeah, like I think that's really interesting. Mr. Orser says, I would not categorize Winterkeep as cozy. So I'm still reading that one, but yes, first impressions, I would say not cozy. I am really liking it though. It's very different from I feel like the first 3 books. I'm excited for our discussion as well. Cozy is more comforting and more character focused, more hope punk for me. Yeah, I think that like one of the authors who I always think of as being cozy fantasy is Jessica Day George, who writes a lot of like middle grade and kind of like middle grade into young adult fantasy. And I would consider her books, yeah, very comforting, character focused. And her books are ones where I feel like they are less likely to have really bad things happen, but not in a way that doesn't feel true to the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there's different flavors of cozy, and
Right.
yeah.
Because also, like, something I was thinking about recently was, speaking of like hope punk, um, like Becky Chambers books.
Mhm.
I like her Monk and Robot series, and that one I think is hope punk, and I think it has a very cozy feel to it in a lot of ways, but is another one that has definite like themes and has kind of a philosophical discussion that it's having. And I was thinking about it recently because I had recommended it to somebody, and they were reading it and liking it, but even though they're very short books, they're like, this is taking me a while to get through, because they're like, it's a very like cerebral
Mhm.
philosophical book. And like, I thought that was an interesting way of talking about it, of calling it like cerebral, which I think it is. It has definite like themes to it and conversations it's trying to have, especially about like society, our relationship to work, burnout, respecting human beings and what is personhood, and like all of these
Yeah.
things. But it's through this lens of like this very soft world, and like, what would this very like, if like an ideal world where people are really like supported and happy, and like we live in harmony with, we're not like destroying the planet, and like all of
Yeah.
these things. And so it has this very like comforting, cozy feel to me, because it is this very like, oh, this seems like such a great world to live in.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it doesn't have like those thematic elements.
Yeah. And I think a lot too, and I don't remember where I first read this or came across this, because I feel like I did see this somewhere, and that's what made me start thinking about it more, or like crystallizing my thoughts on it. It was like this idea that we are, and I don't know if this is a reflection of our society now or like human nature or a combination, but we are kind of programmed to think that depressing things or sad things are like inherently more true and more valuable. And I think about that a lot now because, yeah, like there's nothing like reading a book that is hopeful, it should have nothing to do with how effective that book is or how deep that book is. But I think a lot of us kind of have that instinct of, well, if it's not like, if it has like a hopeful tone or like especially a hopeful ending, that has to mean that it's like less true or it's less profound, like that equating of depth with suffering. I just think about that a lot now, and I think that is one of the reasons that cozy has been kind of a, like, not offensive but like an insulting term, like it's like you were saying, like surface level.
Mm-hmm.
um but I do feel like that is starting to change a little bit, which is exciting. Yeah, Jessica Day George is great. I feel like she's just really fun, and I really like how she does character dynamics, like friendship and family stuff. I feel like she's really good at.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yes, give me more happiness. Yeah, I think it's interesting too. Like this is related, I think, to the like depressing equals more valuable or more true. I think it's interesting that one of the things that people will say, like, well, I don't read, middle grade or young adult or whatever, because it's like unrealistic or something. And I just think it's interesting that like we seem to have this belief that kids need hope, but adults don't.
Right.
Which is
But like,
very
but
weird to
also
me.
that giving kids hope is like lying to them.
Yes, yeah, like it's very odd to me. Like
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, that was a thing that I have like a lot of things that you're making me think of. One of them being um that series that is what is her name? The author that does like Grounded and uh
Oh, Megan Morrison.
yes. One of
Yes.
the things that her books made me think of, because she writes middle grade that I think has some really interesting like themes to them. And I
Yeah.
always enjoy that. I think her themes are more like I don't know. I just think they're really well done. But in the second book, which is the Cinderella retelling that talks about like workers' rights and like safe workplace like working conditions and stuff like that, I remember like reading that, and one of the things that I really liked about it was that because it was middle grade, like it had these like themes in it, but it had that more hopeful approach that made you feel like, yeah, we could do something about this, instead of like, well, the world is the worst and nothing's ever
Yeah.
going to change and we're just going to hate everything. It was
Yeah.
like, yeah, things should be better. We could totally do something about this. Like Cinderella did
Yeah.
something, we could do something.
Yeah. Well, and even
And it feels much more
like,
galvanizing that way to me.
exactly. Like even like really serious existential problems like climate, it's like
Mm-hmm.
it is so important to talk about the things that we can still do, because when in all of history has it's too late ever made somebody take action? Like that doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. It's not just like, oh, we're feeling sad, we don't want to, like, give us some hope because we don't want to feel sad. It's like it literally is only going to work if people believe that we can still do something.
Right.
um
And
yeah. Oh, Catherine Addison, I still need to read The Goblin Emperor.
oh,
um
I haven't read that either.
I want to. Hello, we were
Yay.
discussing the equating of
I think it's
hope
called the
with
negativity.
untrue. The what?
Oh, right. What you were saying was the negativity bias of like
There you go.
being
Yes, that sounds
biased
so
towards
official.
the negative. Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah,
It's a
negativity
survival
bias.
mechanism of,
Yes,
orienting your mind towards the negative because that will protect you.
right.
But
That
that
makes
is
sense.
not as relevant in situations when like you don't have to be in survival mode. Um,
Yeah.
but wait, oh, the thing I was going to say though, in response to what you were talking about, like something like climate change, is that I'm pretty sure, like, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure there are actual, like, there may be, I don't know if there's actual like research about it or something that's about this, but it was about how the way to like engage younger generations in something like prevent, or not preventing, but like stopping climate change, or at least trying to slow it down or do whatever it is we're trying to accomplish at this point, that it is less successful to focus on like these are all the things that are going wrong and like these are the things that are coming to an end and all of that. And what has been much more successful has been to get kids like as young as possible to engage with like nature, and to have them care about specific like their local ecosystems and things like that, because people are much more motivated by preserving things that they love and
Yeah.
having like an emotional connection to the land that they live on and the ecosystems that they're involved in, the animals that they see every day and things like that, than scaring them with things are going terribly. And then they
Yeah.
kind of, and then as a self-protection, like it's with something so large that you can't individually impact, the only way to really protect yourself from that is to just disengage and kind of go like, well, I can't as an individual do anything anyway. But it's much more
Yeah.
motivating to like have people feel engaged because they care about the environment and there's something specifically meaningful to them to preserve.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense.
This conversation took a turn that I was like,
No,
nah.
I love it. Yes, I've heard that the fantasy names are a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
I agree. Sapping people's will to live doesn't necessarily mean more profound literature or storytelling. Yeah, it's not useful. It's just not
Right.
helpful at
This
all.
is this
There's
is why I get frustrated with things like I don't read grimdark because I feel like that's kind of the point of it, is like everything's the worst and you can't trust anybody.
yeah.
And like I just recently finished reading a Robin Hobb book, which I would not categorize her books as grimdark, but I feel like they're right on the precipice of being grimdark.
Mhm.
Um, but I get like frustrated with her books because I feel like they do have this real like in every situation you can kind of predict like whatever's the worst outcome, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And like kind of like related to something you were saying is that to me, I'm like, one, I think that makes it the storytelling much more one note and less interesting
Yes.
because it's very predictable that you're like, what's the worst thing that could happen? That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But also, it doesn't feel true to life to me. Now, there may be some people's lives who that does feel true to life, where it's like whatever possibly could go wrong does go wrong. But like, I think that what makes things feel much more realistic is when there is a mix, that things go right sometimes and things go wrong sometimes. And then there feels more like there's actual stakes because you don't know which direction it's going to go. So sometimes I disagree when people are like, her books are so realistic. And I'm like, I don't know what
Yeah, it's like
reality you're
it's a
living in because that
different
doesn't feel real to me.
different kind of unrealistic, but again, we have that bias towards thinking that bad things are more true.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I also wanted to mention real quick, I have not read this collection yet. I am going to at some point, but it's a collection of essays called All We Can Save. And it's about climate. And I like came across it because they were talking online about this very thing about like it is not productive to tell people that there is no hope and there is nothing we can do. And even like the title is like there's not a lot of climate books that have like that kind of upbeat sort of tone.
Yeah.
So anyway, I have not read it yet, but that's one that I am very excited for and that I think goes along with what we were saying.
Yeah. That sounds
Do we want to
interesting.
do another sprint?
Oh yeah.
I love this conversation though. Let's see,
Okay.
how long do
Actually,
we want
this
to
is
do?
a thing I was wondering is if
Yeah.
I play like music on my computer, you won't hear it, right?
I always wonder about this. Let's do an experiment. I don't
Okay.
think so,
How
but
about I'll play something and then you can tell me if you hear it.
okay.
Okay?
Yes.
Okay. Play.
Nope, can't hear it.
Great. Great, because that means I can either listen to music while I read or listen to an audiobook or something. So I was
Yes.
like, I
I
don't
I'm glad you
yeah.
tested that because I wonder about that, especially like it's like if I mute my microphone, it's like there's no way they'd be able to hear what I'm playing, right? But I just don't know.
No, yeah, I was thinking that the whole time with our last sprint, and I was like, but I don't want if it doesn't work, I don't want to disturb anybody. So this time we know.
We do know. Um, okay, how long do we want to go for this sprint? What are people feeling?
Do I do 40 minutes again?
Yeah, let's do
Do you
that.
want
So
to go
that would be
longer? Like what?
let's do 45 and we can just go to the half hour maybe. How does that sound?
Okay.
All right. Sounds good. Okay. So we will see you guys in about 45 minutes. Okay, everyone. We are back. How did it go for everybody? Hi, Emma. Cozy mystery set in a bakery. Sounds lovely. Not super cost effective because it's making you snack so much. Yeah, I don't read a ton of like bakery oriented books for that reason. How did it go on the sprint, everybody?
Okay. I had to finish a row.
Yes.
So I wouldn't lose count. I'm trying to like actually really count things this time.
That seems like a good idea.
Oh. All right. I listened to a chapter and a half of Raven Flight.
Nice.
So making some progress. And I was crocheting while I was listening to my audiobook. I finished, this is the body of the dinosaur that I'm making. And I have started one of the legs. So this is like the bottom of the foot. So
sounds good. How's the reread going so far?
It is going all right. You know, the Shadowfell series is like not one of my favorites, but I wanted to kind of give it another shot since I haven't read it since like I don't even know when maybe 2015 or something. And like it's still not one of my favorites, but I think I like it better this time around.
Okay.
I just feel like it's like so slow, which I feel like is saying something for a Marillier book because like they're always slow.
That's kind of her vibe.
Right. But like I feel like usually there's more going on. I don't know, like emotionally or internally or with sort of like something. So it doesn't feel like it's slow.
Yeah.
And this one I just am like, I don't know. Like I'm enjoying it, but also I'm like, what? This is so slow. Nothing's happening.
Yeah.
I don't know. How is the sprint for you?
It's good. I read I think like 40 pages.
Ooh.
So I am like making really good progress. I only have about 160 pages left of this book, which is like even better than I kind of hoped for by this point. I'm really enjoying it. Like I'm enjoying it even more than at the beginning. Like I think this book is doing what a lot of authors who do these kind of like Greek mythology retellings that like center women. I think this book is doing what a lot of them think they do. And don't always accomplish. Like I read, what was it called? The Silence of the Girls, which was like following female characters in like the Trojan War, and I hated it. I feel like it was that kind of book that tries to be feminist, but it just reproduces everything bad. Yeah.
My mom DNF'd that book.
Oh my god!
Every time I just give you an update on my mom's reading.
I love that. For people in the comments who like haven't heard this, Huck's mom and I basically have identical reading taste, and I never get tired of hearing about it. I love that so much. She has taste. Emma says, but all my favorite cozies are culinary. It's a nightmare. I love that way of saying it. 20%. Very nice. Reading Ace says, hi, no reading. I have stuff to do. I'm so behind on my page goal. I feel you. I have 700 pages left, which actually, like in my goal, I mean, which because I'm making such good progress on Ariadne, I think is actually going to be pretty doable. But yeah. I'm glad I wasn't over ambitious and I was like, I could do 10,000 pages in a month because I thought about doing that. I know. Emma, did you hear Huck was just talking about the. You want to like mention your book title again in
Oh,
case.
yes. I am rereading the Shadowfell trilogy. I'm on the second book, Raven Flight. I always think it's Raven's Flight, but it is not.
Yeah.
So this is one of her YA fantasy series. That is more, it's more fantasy, less historical fantasy.
Okay. Okay. I'll show you guys. I just got a package delivered that I'm very excited about. So we'll do a little mini book haul here. So this was my first time ordering from them, but it's called The Signed Book, and it's actually run by another indie fantasy author, which is very cool. And they have like it's basically like the authors, they do like all kinds of special editions and stuff. It looks like they're still having a Cyber Monday sale if anyone's interested, but I'll link the shop if people care. I'll just put that in the chat. So yeah, the authors get like an extra high percentage of the sales, which I think is cool. So I picked up a couple of books. I have Die With Your Lord by Sarah K. L. Wilson. I really like this cover design. It's like the fourth in a series that I've only read the first book in, but I really liked it. So I was like, well, I know I'm going to want that eventually. And then I also got, this is like one of the special edition ones of Beyond the Filigree Wall by Melissa Wright. And it's got a really cool Under the Dust jacket. I think that was one of the like special.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it also came with this like cool little envelope with like the extra like art things that you got for like ordering from them. So this is the art from the Sarah K. L. Wilson series. And I think, yeah, this is the bookmark that came with the other one. And it was just one of those books that I'm like, this sounds like exactly my thing. So let me find the description.
Do you use actual bookmarks?
I do. I'm a big bookmark user, which is good because I have a zillion of them. I cannot stop myself from collecting very cool bookmarks.
See, yeah, I always like bookmarks because like they're just a great opportunity to have like a little work of art, but I don't actually use them. I use Post-its.
Okay. We should figure out something like you should do like, I don't know, you could combine them into like a cool like art collage or something. If you don't
I don't actually have a lot of them. I just always want them.
Okay. That's fair as well. I think one thing that BookTube has taught us is that collecting bookish things and using bookish things are not always the same hobby.
I have too many things that I collect.
Yeah, that's also true of me. Okay, so one of the reasons I was so excited about this book is slow burn romance, and it's compared to Little Thieves by Margaret Owen, which is one of my favorite books of last year. It's so good. Let's see. It says, okay, so it's like the two main characters are like competing for the same job, but they have to like team up because they have to save the kingdom from like an evil Fey prince or something. I don't know. The description just made me think I would love it. So we'll see. But I'm pretty confident. Emma said, Shadowfell was my favorite back then. I tried again a few months ago, but just the mention of the culling had me going, oh my god, I can't handle this anymore. My tastes have changed. My threshold for violence is -50 now. That's fair enough. Mr. Rorsuri switched to nonfiction. They Knew by Sarah Kendzior about cults and conspiracy. That sounds intense. We have a shout out to Book Depository for their bookmarks. Emma, same. I also stalk Etsy for gorgeous artsy ones. It's one of those things too, like if you're going to have something that you collect a lot of, I think bookmarks is a good thing because they're small. They take up so little space and they're really useful. And like I read a lot of books, so I do get to use like all the bookmarks I have. So that's how I justify it to myself. But yeah, here's my little mini book haul here.
Should do is like, you know how when people have baseball cards, they have those like binders with the clear sleeves.
Yeah.
And you, like should do that for bookmarks so that you can just look at them all like in a book format and just flip through and be like, those are very pretty.
Yeah. Oh, we also, Eat Sleep Read has joined us. How long are we planning to sprint? That's a good question. What do you think, Huck?
That's decisions. I don't know.
I know.
um,
It's like almost 5 for you, right?
it is. Yes. I would be up
I
for another sprint.
Okay.
Uh,
Maybe like
but I
another
don't know.
kind of long sprint.
Sure.
All right. Emma says they're small, they take no space, and you can have a piece of art for the price of a coffee, plus useful. Yes, exactly. And I feel like it's a cool way. It's like if it's somebody that you follow who has like an Etsy shop, or sometimes authors have one, it's like a way that you can support them without
Mm-hmm.
like committing to like a really big purchase, which I think is cool. Um, I don't know if Goodreads has revealed that yet. That's a good question.
Revealed what? Has
Who made it
Goose?
to the next round of the Goodreads
Oh,
Choice Awards?
I don't know.
Uh, I'm sure it's gonna be frustrating, no matter what. But let's see. I'm not seeing a giant banner, so I'm assuming they haven't done the next round yet. Because normally Goodreads is really loud about it when that happens. So I'm gonna say no. Um, okay, what are we thinking for another sprint? Do we want to do another like roughly 45? Um, maybe till 30?
Sure,
How does that sound? All
that
right.
works.
We will check in with you guys then. Happy sprinting. Okay, everybody. Sprint is over. Emma says the Goodreads final round starts on the 29th, which is tomorrow. Yes. Hello, Kelly. How did the sprint go for you? For everyone, how are we finishing the event?
Well, I listened to one more chapter of Ravenflight, which it was a very long chapter. So in total, I was listening to the audiobook, but 90 pages of Ravenflight. And I I think last time I had finished the body, I was working on the limbs this time of the dinosaur that I'm making. So I made 2 feet and 2 arms. So now I'm just making all the pieces and then I have to sew them together. I still have to do a tail. And I think that I'm debating whether I'm going to add little like spikes down the back or not. Do Triceratops have spikes on their back?
I think they do. Yeah.
We have to look it up. I actually also realized that I don't have yarn for making like the little horns. Like if it's a Triceratops, it needs 3 horns.
Yeah.
And I want like a lighter color. I don't want it to match the body or the dark accent. So I might have to get more yarn for that.
Always the danger.
Yeah.
Finished Project Hail Mary and it felt like a warm hug. Good. Oh. I read just one chapter of Ariadne because I was focusing on captions this time. I think I got like half the captions done for that video, so maybe that'll go up today. It's a reading vlog that I have been working on for months. Finally gonna be able to log the books on Goodreads. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm like looking at where I'm keeping track of the things that I hope to read this month. I think, okay, because I'm in good shape to finish Ariadne today. And the good thing, even though I still have like several books, because, I am very competitive with myself. So I want to get through all of the Historathon prompts so I win. So I can finish Ariadne today.
Win the non-competition.
Exactly. It's not a competition, but if it was, I want to win. I can finish Ariadne today. And then there's a really short story that I have on ebook that I'm going to read. So that'll be very quick. And then of the books remaining, 2 of them are novels in verse, which are going to be really quick. So it is still feasible, depending how much I can actually read today and tomorrow, and I guess the next day. I might still be able to do this, especially if there's like a couple books I haven't like decided on yet. If I pick very short ones, I might be able to hit this completely arbitrary goal. Which is what reading is all about, right?
Exactly.
Emma ended up listening to the Northanger Abbey audiobook. Fun. Off to bed now. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you were able to read with us. Sleep well. Yeah, Northanger Abbey is a fun one. All right. Anyone else want to talk about their progress before we wrap things up? As I said at the beginning, Huck is already linked in the description. And I also linked Beautifully Bookish Bethany because she was the creator of NaNoReMo. For those of us who like to be competitive but aren't writers. Which I think is clear from the way I was just talking. So makes sense why I would be into this. But anything to add, Huck?
No, this is fun.
Yeah. I hope everyone had a good time. You got some good reading in or whatever you were working on. I definitely did like even better than I was hoping, which is why I feel optimistic about the rest of the month. So hopefully that momentum continues. But thank you guys for being here with us. Thank you if you are watching this back later. And and we will talk to you later. Bye.